Hey guys, this is Kiki coming at you on Sunday, March 29th, and this is the Corona Introspective. Living through this crazy world that we live in of the coronavirus pandemic. Today you see me outside, and I wanted to record this outside because today I took a little bit of time specifically for my mental health. Went on a walk, went out to enjoy the sunshine. You see this? It's a beautiful day. There's random people out walking around. Everybody's keeping their distance from each other. But as we're entering week 3 of the social distancing of our quarantines, I wanted to talk specifically about mental health and how we're coping with this. I was talking to a friend the other day, and she said something very smart. Right now, every single one of us is living through trauma. What we're living is a very traumatic event. It is, a mass trauma, a cultural trauma, something that will affect us, not on an individual basis, but us as a society, us as a global, as a global culture, as a global society, something that is going to become very cultural and ancestral for us, for our future generations that we can talk about. It's essentially like living through a war, and it's something that it's difficult to deal with because of the trauma that we're going through, of this fear for what may happen, of this constantly being in the lookout, trying to keep each other, trying to keep ourselves safe, for for the economic perspective of this, as a lot of us are losing jobs, as a lot of us are losing their savings, their 401k retirement plans. For a lot of us, unfortunately, it's going to be through from losing those that you love, and from seeing those that you love, perish to this horrific disease. And for all of us, it is this whole idea that, we are now, that we're isolating. And again, I've kind of touched on this in my previous videos, but then there's some of you or some of us that get to isolate, with families, with loved ones, with roommates. And there's those, the other ones, the rest of us, some of us that get to do this all by ourselves. And, this isn't enough. If one of these things that I just listed isn't enough to drive anybody crazy, all of these things combined into one nice package, it's not easy. It's not easy, and it's something that'll definitely that will get to a lot of our heads. However we're dealing with this, whatever smile we may wear on our faces when we do go for a walk and we're not at our neighbors. The reality is that this is hard. And on top of this, there's another pandemic that we have been going through as a society, and that is the pandemic of mental health, and of people just not being comfortable to talk about it. Something that we're still fighting to get rid of the stigma around it. So you couple the one pandemic. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because it's just, I laugh through things that are hard to talk about, but it's coupling one pandemic with this other pandemic of mental health issues, and it becomes a real whirlwind, something that we can all get lost in very easily. So I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist. I have zero training in this field, but from reading, from listening to other experts, and from personal experience, I wanted to talk about a few tips and tricks that I have to help you keep it together, to help that things that help me keep it together. A lot of these you've already heard me talk about in my previous videos, and hopefully maybe you'll take something away from it if you didn't listen before, and maybe you'll hear something new today as well. I'm going to start with probably the most recent coping mechanism, coping tactic that I have learned myself very recently, and that is that is something we in society, especially, in this Western world and in the US, we don't allow ourselves to do that a lot. But the number one piece of advice that I have is, when you're feeling something, let yourself feel it. Don't try to push it away. Don't try to bottle it up, because that's only going to lead to more problems, and that's going to lead to, more negativity that's going to spiral in within you. Instead, if you feel a tear coming out, if you feel, whatever emotion, I want you to stop, pause, and let yourself experience it. Think about it. Think, like, why are you feeling it? Don't push it away. Why are you feeling it? What is it doing to your body? How is it making you feel? What are you actually going through? And concentrate on that and allow that emotion to come and to happen. And that may seem counterintuitive, because essentially what I'm telling you is, cry if you need to. If you need to yell, go to your room and yell, express it. And I know, again, in the society, we often look down on this, but that is something that you can get it out of your system much faster. You let it happen, you acknowledge it, and by that, you can then move on. Something else that has been helping me a lot has been yoga and meditation. And, if you're not into yoga, I'm not telling you to, go out and buy a mat and put on, the next video that you find on YouTube. Not at all. But more so from the meditative aspect of it is, and it kind of goes back to my last point, is, let yourself feel it, but also stop, breathe, and figure out a way to empty your mind and to concentrate, to be in the moment. There has been countless studies and countless research that says that different forms of meditation can help us get through things. It can help with our mood, it can help with our hormone levels, it can help with our stress levels. And if you don't know how to meditate, it's, what I'm talking about, it's not about the formalized sense of, you sit cross-legged, you close your eyes and you go, no, not at all. It's about, breathing, concentrate on your breathing, go for a walk, and just tune out and let yourself be in the moment. And I've also talked about this in passing here and there, but whatever your form of exercise and movement, again, something else that have been very scientifically proven to improve your mood, increasing your serotonin, dopamine, honestly. Again, I don't have a textbook in front of me right now, but something that is, even if you have mobility challenges, just stretching, doing whatever you can, getting some of those endorphins flowing is fantastic to, stabilizing your mood and helping you cope through this difficult time. I had to move inside to get the rest of my notes, but after I'm done with you, I very much plan on going back outside and get the rest of the sunshine in. Have y'all ever wondered why the hippie generation, the hippie culture of the 60s, why they hugged trees? That is a very real thing, is that plants and trees, they have this energy to them. So by touching it, essentially, there's a transfer of positive energy. Hopefully it's a healthy plant that can transfer good positive energy from their body to yours. So go hug a tree, literally. And if you're not able to do that, or even if you can, get plants in your house. Go out to your local supermarket. They're still selling flowers. That hasn't stopped yet. Even if the florist is closed, you can still get it in your supermarket flower section. Invest. If you have, if you can garden. Put yourself around nature, around plants, and around animals. Animals also, they help calm our anxieties. They're great for our mood, great for stabilizing us. I am lucky enough that I have this over here crazy cat. Um, and if you don't have one of your own right now, a cat, a dog, a hamster, anything, you know what? This is a great time to rescue one, or if you can't adopt one, then to foster one. Um, there's always dogs in shelters. There's always dogs that need homing. And again, like, even if you're not in a position that you can commit to adopting an animal right now, but if you can, then foster it. It'll help you through this time. You will help the animal out as well. So really, mutual benefactors. Talking about plants and animals, let's also talk about, what we put into our bodies and the food that we eat. And, there's a number of food with very specific nutrients that also improve cognitive function, help fight depression, and give you, the right supply of vitamins and antioxidants and other things that you need to help with overall mood improvement. So eat things like salmon and other omega-3 rich foods, fatty acids, dark chocolate. So, zero guilt dark chocolate during this time. If you're feeling down, go to the pantry and get yourself out, that bar that you've been wanting to have for a while, and don't beat yourself up for it. It's going to literally make you feel better. Dark leafy greens like spinach and kale, almonds, and of course berries. And another thing that I started doing recently is aromatherapy. I invested in a new aromatherapy diffuser. Honestly, I just found mine at CVS. They vary in price ranges from, probably like $10, $15, and you can, get a really, really nice high-end one. Mine is a little bit more than $15, but again, it's from CVS. It's definitely not by any means high end. And get, essential oils. If you don't know which specific essential oils help with anything, again, go to your local CVS, go on Amazon, and there will be blends that they will tell you on the package specifically what they do. One important thing, however, is you have to make sure that these are actual natural essential oils. That means no chemicals added, not perfumes. It's not just to make your home smell nice, but the power is within the oil that has been extracted from the plant that is, having that then impacts um, our how our brain neurons fire, and that can help improve our mood. In this time, it's very important for all of us to stay abreast of the news, to be aware of what's happening. But like probably many of you, and I am the worst offender, is do not consume yourself in the news. What I've heard a lot of other experts say is limited to maybe 20 minutes a day, maybe, a little bit, 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening, just kind of to catch up on the day's events. But don't do what I do and don't leave it on 24/7, whether you're working from home, just hanging out, doing the dishes, whatever. If you have the news on 24/7, the only thing you're going to hear right now is how the sky is falling. So by the time the day is done, you have internalized those messages, and you can't help but have this overwhelming, or I can't help but feel this overwhelming sense of gloom, that we're all going to perish, or the world is going to perish, and the sky is falling, and this crazy apocalyptic event, and that builds on the fear, that builds on the anxiety, that builds on the trauma that we are already going through. But the best ditty that I've heard from, I believe he was a psychology professor. Again, sorry, y'all know I'm not good with exact quotes or my sources. That's why don't take your news from me. But I did hear an actual psychologist on an interview on CNN um, say this very smart thing is, when you do watch the news, do not watch it before bedtime. Try and keep your news intake during the day, in the morning. And that is because during the daytime and at nighttime, as we're getting ready for bed, the neurons in our brain are firing off at different frequencies. And when they slow down towards the night, it has a very adverse effect to getting negative news and negative information that we internalize on a very different level than when we're more alert, more awake during the daytime, and can process it in much healthier ways. And definitely not last, and also definitely not least, is doing something good for somebody else. So instead of focusing all your emotions inward and internalizing on, woe is me, this is so hard, see, acknowledge that feeling, but then see if there's something good that you can do for somebody else. Because if there ever is something that can honestly make me feel good, it's doing something nice for someone else. Um, whether in this time, whether this means donating money to your favorite organization, whether it means finding an elderly neighbor or somebody that needs help grocery shopping that can't leave their house. However you can contribute, if it means making and donating masks to your local healthcare providers, um, finding other ways to volunteer, or just calling on people that may be having a difficult time right now, and calling them and talking to them and making sure that they have somebody to connect with, and making sure that they know that you're there. um, Make this not about yourself, but about those that you care about. Do you have any tips or tricks, or things that you do when you're feeling down? Is there something particular that has been helping you in coping through this pandemic? Um, and how were you coping through this pandemic? I don't think this is a time to be shy about our feelings. It's, honestly, sometimes I'm okay, and other times I will, randomly break down into tears. And I'm telling you this because I'm acknowledging that. And after I let myself feel that, I go out and I put on my aromatherapy diffuser, I go for a walk, I eat some chocolate, or just, eat something that makes me feel good. And I cope and I survive, and I will survive, and you will survive, and we will all come out of this better and stronger people. But yeah, in the comments, let me know, how are you feeling? How are you doing? And, what are you doing to cope? And, do you have any other tricks to give us? Thanks. I love you. Stay safe and stay vigilant. Love and light.